how do we know that prevention strategies work, and what are examples of prevention strategies?
It's difficult to measure because in a lot of ways what you're essentially doing is you're engaging in counterfactuals. That is, you're trying to prove a negative. So how do we know that something worked since we don't know the outcome, right? And that's more of a question in terms of measuring the effect of specific prevention mechanisms. Overall, we might be able to say that there are a whole set of tools that were used or strategies that were used that helped mitigate or push back the possibility of violence, but it's hard to know the specific tools. Having said that, I think at least one case that comes to mind is Kenya, the Kenyan election in 2013. Several years before that, 2007, 2008, there was an election in Kenya that experienced a lot of violence. So it was very high rates of violence, about 1,000-ish people or more may have been killed, massive population displacement. And at the time there was a concern that the next round of elections would actually lead to a Rwanda-like situation. That didn't happen. So what led to it? What led to this lack of atrocities, so to speak? It's a little hard to say, but we know, for instance, that civil society groups played a very important role in promoting tolerance, promoting respect for the rule of law. We know that political leaders, to some extent, came together and advocated for no violence, but we also know that there was a strong security presence on the ground. So there was a prevention of atrocities insofar as the security forces actually secured that. It's tricky because what we don't want to equate prevention with is, of course, the presence of security forces in a strong way. That's only a small part of it, but that was important. And then lastly, there was international attention. The international attention focused on trying to get the political leaders to at least respect the outcome. That was complicated, though, because of the International Criminal Court investigations at the time. But I would say Kenya is probably a successful one. Côte d'Ivoire is also something of a successful case in the sense that during the elections there, during the period of kind of 2011, 2012, there was expected to be significantly more violence than there was. Sometimes when we're talking about these cases, we risk focusing on the use of force to stop force, and we're not focusing on the deep structural sources of prevention. That's harder to measure, but that's more important.